Mets had a home and home series with the Philadelphia Phillies, and really, other than the finale, everything else did not go well for the Amazons. Welcome to the Queen's Connection, a production of Patton Sports Creative. I'm your host, Andrew Patton, and let's get a vibe check from across the Atlantic Ocean with our co-host Corne Hogeveen. Corne, well, first, before we get into the series, uh, I guess we're going to have some boots on the ground in the London series. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's getting closer, right? And yeah, couple of weeks until the London series is there. We'll be there with my girlfriend and some friends. So excited for that. And yesterday they had some pre-series workout tickets were limited available. So luckily I was there quickly enough to get those. So it's a little bit of an extra day to see some baseball. Maybe not the game, but I think it's pretty fun to be able to watch some BP on the day before. And those tickets were for free as well. So very cool from UK Mets that they did that. So and MLB obviously. So kudos to them. And I'm excited, maybe even more excited for that than the actual games to see batting practice up close. But we will see.
Did you feel like you had to go to the workout series because you were worried that the Mets bats weren't going to travel with them across the Atlantic?
Yeah, for it's good for us as fans to check on them before the game started and hopefully put some light under there.
I got the beep,
Uh,
we can actually say the word now, and I can just edit it out, So
you know what I meant.
I know exactly what you meant, and I think a lot of
I,
Met fans are.
I hope for a better series or a better two-game series against the Phillies than we saw this week.
Yeah, so usually we go game by game, but this whole week has really been something. I'll put it that way. Going from starting on Monday, where the Mets looked like they were going to take the opener of this home and home with the Phillies, and Edwin Diaz blows the save in the ninth. The Phillies win it in extra innings, and then the next night the Mets are uh, stymied by Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola was pitching a perfect game through 5 innings, I want to say. It was definitely something like that. And then the next night in Philadelphia, the Mets have a 2-1 lead. Joey Lucchesi comes up, makes the spot start. He's looking pretty good, and then it just all you know hits the fan, and walks start to kill him. Base hits, poor defense, everything like that. There's closed door meetings. The owner's tweeting stuff out. The president of baseball ops is meeting with the media before Thursday's finale. The Mets do salvage that finale. Um, but overall, it's been a weird week of baseball in Metsland. So rather than go game by game, I think we're just going to kind of look at the picture as a whole. In your baseball expertise, uh, what is the main takeaway from this home and home with the Phillies? What is there any positives to take out of it? Is there something that's really sticking with you, that's just eating at you, bugging you? Well, just this weird week of Mets baseball. What's the biggest thing you took away?
From the series, well, to me, I think it's clear that the Phillies are a better ball club. I mean, we have seen that right now. They are a better team, which looking at the record of the Phillies, you might say, well, they haven't played good teams. Um, but yeah, they have a solid bullpen. They have some solid starting pitchers: Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler. We miss Zach Wheeler, and um, yeah, we still got beat up a little bit. So um, that's for me is the main point that right now we aren't a better ball club than arguably the second team in the National League East. I know they are first right now, but I still think the Braves are a better ball club. Um, and that Wednesday game that stood out to me as a from both sides, but yeah, the Mets eventually lost. If you win that game, you probably feel a little bit different, but that was a very, very bad ball game from all sorts of ways to look at playing baseball. That was bad.
Yeah, and it was just kind of a weird lead up to the game too, because the day before, or maybe it was Monday, Carlos Mendoza, the manager, said Adrian Hauser is going to pitch Wednesday. He's going to get the start in Philadelphia. Well, then the Tuesday game, late in the game, he's warming up in the bullpen. So those warm up pitches eliminated him from starting on Wednesday. So the Mets have to send Jose Butto down, who made that start on Tuesday, so they could call Joey Lucchesi up to make the start on Wednesday. And obviously, I know you love Big Butto, um, and you were very upset about sending him down. And quite frankly, I wasn't a big fan of it either because, like I said in our chat, other than maybe Severino, um, he's been the Mets' most consistent, best starter, something along those lines. Um, and obviously, you're not going to send Christian Scott down because you want to have him pitch at the big league level. He's pitched well his 2 games. So Buto was the casualty of the because he had the options. Um, but just some weird, it's just a weird roster. Well, I don't know weird is the correct word to use, but a disappointing roster move, I guess. Because I don't think Buto, even though he's he always just has this one inning that kind of gets away from him, but the rest of the time he's really good. Unfortunately, most of the time because of perhaps a lack of offense like they had on Tuesday, um, no, it sticks out a lot more than maybe it traditionally should or would. Um, but I think Buto was just a bit of a roster casualty here, and I would hope when he's eligible to come back, and if it's possible to get him back up and get him back in the rotation, I think the Mets should do it because um, for a team that has said that they want to have the young guys play, they want to see these guys. They're not going to really do them much good if they're down in Syracuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it was a roster constructive move, and I get that he has options, but to me, it's still a bit disappointing to have a guy that arguably was your second best starter this season. Yes, he had some innings where it tended to get away from him, but what impressed me the most with Buto so far is that um, even though he had those type of innings, he still kept his team in the ball game, and we have seen some other outings from other pitchers for the Mets this year, like Joey Lucchesi, um, that wasn't able to do that. Buto in his bad outings or when his stuff didn't work or wasn't as great as it was Tuesday, I think it was another example where um, it was just a bit off, but still was able to limit the damage. And then you bring up a Joey Lucchesi who, um, as an I mean, his overall numbers last year look good, but if you look at the rest, he had a high walk rate. He had a high walk rate in Syracuse. He allowed some hard hit contact last year that his expected ERA was over 5.5 instead of the 2.78 or something that it was last year. So um, to me, it was a bit of a short, small sample size success story last year. And it showed. I think even in the first 4 innings, he allowed some hard hit contact, and then with the walks in the fifth, it got to him, but he wasn't able to limit the damage, unlike what Jose Butto did. And I think Jose Butto um, just deserves to be in a rotation. Although I understand the roster construction, and I understand that baseball moves are sometimes a business. For that reason, I was disappointed that um, that you don't necessarily reward a guy who has been a mainstay in your rotation for most of the season.
Yeah, just looking at the stat line from Tuesday, the 5 innings, the one hit, the big killer was the 4 walks. I mean, but you can say that about almost every pitcher in the starting rotation or even in the bullpen. The bullpen has been getting leaky with walks as well. So yeah, just disappointing. I think Buto is, is he ever going to be like an ace? No, probably not.
Probably not.
But he's a good, solid back end guy that can for his time in the big leagues and even at the minor leagues as well. He seems to make his starts, which is obviously huge. You want durability from your starting pitchers. It looks like Buto's got that built into his system. So if you can get Buto back up here, I think it would serve the team well to have him continue to pitch rather than guys like Joey Lucchesi. I know Lucchesi got optioned back to Syracuse, so he's not making any starts anytime soon for the Mets unless someone gets hurt. But just overall, if you had to pick between the two, you'd rather pick the younger guy who maybe has a little bit more of a future rather than I guess we could call Lucchesi maybe a bit of a journeyman guy, even though he's only pitched for two teams. But he's been on the charter flights from New York to Syracuse often the past couple of years. So I think that's kind of shows you what the Mets view him as is more rotation depth rather than
Yeah,
rotation mainstay.
for spots, what he was used for was exactly the spot. On Wednesday is how the Mets see him. Yes, we needed one arm to make a start. Let's bring up Lucchesi, give him one start, and that's why he's in the Mets organization. So in, in, instead of Buto's, who I see as a guy you might pencil in next year as maybe a fourth or fifth guy.
Yeah, yeah, and you need those guys. You need pitching depth. I mean, you can never have enough pitching depth in my mind. Um, but it's just something that I guess you could say it's a self-inflicted problem the Mets put on themselves by having Adrian Hauser warm up and then he didn't even get into the game, but he threw all those pitches in the bullpen, and they deemed it, nope, he can't pitch him tomorrow. And is it a little weird too in your mind? I'm sure that it was just break glass in case of emergency, but just to have him even available out of the bullpen for that game when you've come out and said you're starting the next game. Did you find that a little weird or a little odd at all, or is it something more? I guess maybe am I making it more than it actually is?
Remind me, it was the Tuesday game. We were down 4-0, maybe.
Yeah, it was like the
Uh,
seventh
yeah,
inning, eighth innings. I think the seventh inning when he started to warm up, if memory serves me correctly.
yeah, maybe they thought that other arms in the bullpen were not available, so then you have to do something. But it's weird that in the end he doesn't come into the game with a 4-0 deficit. It's not like there wouldn't be a spot for him to at least make him throw and make him pitch somewhat, even if it's rest for the other arms in the bullpen. So all in all, a little bit of a weird move that obviously didn't necessarily pan out. And it's not me saying, "Oh, Hauser would have had a better start than Joey Lucchesi in Philadelphia." I mean, it
Yeah,
could have not made any difference either way, but still, I think it was it was odd. I don't necessarily know the thinking behind it. Maybe um, he was there for an emergency spot in that inning, in that game, and but yeah, then use him then. So yeah, weird.
yeah. So they had Diekman pitching that seventh inning. He had the three walks, but then Jorge Lopez gave him an inning in the third. Sean Foley pitched the ninth inning and allowed the two runs there. So there were some guys available, more the high end guys with Jorge Lopez. So that just made it even a little bit more curious to me, and that's what sparked the question. And there's also been some other times when it comes to the position players, like last night, it worked out in the end, but in the ninth inning, with uh, Hoffman was on the mound um, for the Phillies. Maybe it was the eighth inning. The game was yesterday. I can't even remember. But Harrison Bader was up um, with a spot, and that was where DJ Stewart's spot was in the lineup. And you figure you want the lefty righty matchup, but they took him out in the sixth inning. Believe he got pinched run for, um, and then they left Bader in for defense. But the sixth inning, um, and then they talked about in the broadcast too, and they said, well, there's a chance that DJ Stewart could get an at bat later in the game, and obviously it came up. That spot came up in the lineup again. Like I said, did it matter in the end? No, because Bader lines one off the pitcher, goes into center field. Um, but do you think like sometimes Mendoza is maybe a little too quick to do the defensive replacements or anything like that? Because like I said, in the end, it didn't matter. Bader got the hit, but that's probably a spot where traditionally I would rather see DJ Stewart at the plate rather than Harrison Bader.
Maybe a little bit quick, but on the other hand, it's always those pinch run and defensive replacement moves. There's always a risk because you make them when you have a lead, and obviously Harrison Bader is much better in center field, makes your defense a lot better. So if it was the other way around and he saves a run there and you kept the lead, you would feel differently. So um, I wouldn't make too big of a deal out of that move. I get that. I get it that people, say you need the offense, but on the other hand, if the time they brought him in, it's not only having a guy who with his legs can easily score, and also having a guy um, who provides way better defense. So it's always I wouldn't necessarily second guess the timing of that move.
Well, after all that being said, losing the 3 of 4 in this home and home series with the Phillies, the Mets sit at 20 and 23, not an impressive record, 3 games under 500, but they're half game out of the last wild card spot, which just makes this whole thing even weirder. I mean, to be fair, it's May 17th, so as the season goes on, teams are going to start to the field's going to kind of sort itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But
But maybe us though.
yeah, but that's the thing, with the way the team is played, you could be the team that's starting to fall in the back of the pack and get out of it, which kind of leads to, we talked about this a little bit on our chat, like tradable assets, and it's way too early to start. I mean, the Mets are not where the Marlins are when it comes to like, all right, no, we're done, the season's over, whatever. The Mets aren't there yet, obviously, but do have some tradable assets, and I guess their owner was active on Twitter about this, and since deleted it. I know you have some opinions on this, so I guess this was after the Wednesday game, if I remember correctly, or somewhere in there. I didn't actually see the tweet or much of this at all until like maybe half an hour before first pitch yesterday, whatever. But I guess Cohen replied to another post about possibly blowing it up. That is quote all in the future, and that there is not much we can do until the trade deadline. I guess then that got deleted. He then talked to SNY. He says he believes in this team. I believe this. I believe in the back of baseball cards. It's way too early to speculate on anything. It's May 16th. I expect to make the playoffs. All that stuff. Um, but obviously it drew some headlines. It got the attention of um, some national uh, you know, outlets and obviously the fan base, and it was a little bit of a topic. I know you have an opinion on this, and um, what. So let's share that opinion. What do you think about all this?
First of all, Steve Cohen does a lot of good things for this organization, but one thing that he got into trouble now more often than not is tweeting. And um, I'm not the biggest fan of Steve Cohen tweeting out about, you know, about the organization or about. I understand that you want to be transparent, but it's not the first time that he tweets something out, and we all know uh, we message each other. You probably message your friends without context of seeing somebody say it. Um, it can create a different story than Steve Cohen maybe wanted to create with the tweet. So he has done a lot better job with tweeting. Unfortunately, came back to bite him a little bit. I do believe that it's to talk about what he said. I think it is too early. Like you mentioned, we are a half game back. Um, yes, we have tradable assets, but on the other hand, you have players who maybe at some point are gonna pick it up, who have done it before. So it's not like this team on paper is a terrible team. We know that it's not the Braves. We know that it's not the Dodgers. I think we both understand that before the season. But um, this team could be good enough to sneak in that first wild card spot, and you can look at it with, oh, the Mets are 3 games under 500 and not playing well. True, but we saw in 2022 that the Phillies didn't play well and ended up being in the playoffs, playing a lot better. So why not? So why not us for once in a while? Having a peak moment in the middle of the season where we mostly drop off a little bit. Now let's turn it around and start with the series against the Marlins coming up. I think that's a huge series to maybe um, set your foot into the playoff spot.
I think a little bit this too, the expectations of making the playoffs and all that stuff. They kind of brought this upon themselves. And let me explain myself here. So obviously, last trade deadline, they're in Kansas City. There's the meeting with then GM Billy Epler and Steve Cohen meets the media, and they're kind of saying 2024 is no, uh, they're not a rebuild, nothing like that, but maybe a little bit of a bridge year or something like that. You know, playing the young guys, and they kind of carried that over to the offseason and the way they approached the offseason as well, with taking chances on guys like Severino, Mania, coming off either bad or meh years, and to say, hey, there's upside here. If the guy pitches at his highest level, then that's probably good for us, and we're probably a playoff team, whatever. And I think they kind of approached the offseason that way for the most part. And I think they stuck to their word that this is good. 2024 is a bridge year. We got all these guys coming up, and hopefully they're more, they're the core of our future. Where it started to change for me was back at the end of spring training when they signed JD Martinez. Now, obviously, no, the price dropped to them in a position where they said, "Hey, we're going to do this." I guess they weren't overly impressed the way Mark Vientos and at that time DJ Stewart were performing in spring training. They felt they had to go out and get a bat. But when you sign a guy like JD Martinez, in my mind, it signifies something that this is not a bridge year. A guy like JD Martinez at this stage in his career, he's going to go to a place where he thinks he can win a World Series, and stuff like that. So in my mind, and maybe you disagree, maybe others do, and maybe I already see you shaking your head. But I guess when you sign a guy like JD Martinez, to me, that signifies that we're in it. We're going for it. Not 2024 is not the bridge year. It's a we're gonna make we were gonna try to make the playoffs and try to win a World Series, whatever. So I think they kind of brought this upon themselves a little bit in that regard, where then the expectations, at least for me anyway, then they shot up a little bit rather than, hey, I know Vientos and Stewart or whatever, they didn't have great spring trains, but they said, hey, we're gonna roll these guys and whatever, and we'll just see where the we'll see where the cards fall when it comes to them. But going out to sign JD Martinez, was it a bad move? No, I didn't hate it at the time, but I think it just tweaked my expectations maybe. Maybe it's more of a me thing rather than the organization thing. But I think when you bring in a guy like JD Martinez for that lineup for this team on a 1 year deal, I think I viewed it more as a win now move rather than, hey, let's bring this guy in and we'll continue to let the chips fall with our young guys. And then if we fall out of it, then we can just trade JD Martinez. Maybe that was more their thinking. But for me anyway, when you sign JD Martinez, it meant we're going for the playoffs.
Yeah, but you can do both. You can be in an in between year and still trying to make the playoffs. So um, I think you said some things that are right, and I think exactly like you mentioned that JD Martinez was still available and fell to them, um, made the Mets make that move. But I still see it as a bridge here with hope of making the playoffs, and um, even and I think in the back of our minds, even if you don't make the playoffs, JD Martinez can get you a prospect. So for the organization, I don't necessarily see it as a um, win now or yeah. not necessarily see. Of course, you want to win and you want to be in the playoffs, and obviously that was the main reason. The main reason is obviously that the Mets got JD Martinez for this season because he has a 1 year deal. So that's logical. But I still see it as an in between year. I still see all those moves the Mets make were 1 year deals for a reason. And that was, we have some financial flexibility with Steve Cohen. We can still go for it and not make it a total rebuild. And even if it doesn't work out, you have a nice trading deadline because we have a lot of people who could be available, which helps us in the future. And I definitely think that that's a big part of the strategy. Go for it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, hey, get some extra prospects. Never hurts.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I guess I would just rather. I guess I guess like what I'm trying to say is like I wish they had maybe picked the direction and gone in it. I guess it seems a little bit more of kind of like a tweener move. Maybe I'm not explaining myself correctly enough. I guess if you were gonna say this is a bridge year, this is a rebuild year, whatever, stick with it. If this was a hey, you know what, we're gonna try to run this again. We'll go deep sea fishing, free agency, go in that direction. Um, you know, and I think for the most part they kind of stuck to the former. Hey, this guy's got some upside. Let's grab him. If it works, great. If not, whatever. I viewed that more just the bridge kind of thing. I guess I view JD Martinez more as a chips in kind of move. But you're saying you view it as more like signing the Severino to the 1 year deal or the Mania to the 1 year with the player option for next year kind of. So you think it's kind of the same move where I think it's more of a drastic move. Um,
Yeah, but for me, it would be different if you signed a guy on a long-term deal. It's a 1 year deal. So they saw the opportunity. They saw a very good bet still left on the open market, which um, in my mind I agreed with, and in their mind was an upgrade over a spot where they definitely tried to have a spring training and see what those DJ Stewart and Mark Vientos could do. But they they pivoted, and I think it's never terrible to pivot when you see an opportunity. I see it like that. They see an opportunity. It's a low risk move. It's a 1 year deal. Um, you can say yes, he has deferred money somewhere in 2020, 32 to 2036. Well, that's I
yeah,
think it's
we'll be
like,
dead by the time JD Martinez gets that money.
and
Maybe not, but
it's probably worth less than it is right now. So it's peanuts at that point. So that's I don't care about that.
it's
Um,
not our money.
True, but I also don't think that, unlike maybe with the Otani deal, I don't think the Mets are hurt by it at that point. So it's just a non-issue for them in those years. So I still see it. I still see it that way. Like, they saw an opportunity, get JD Martinez. It was never a secret that they were trying to win. Also with the moves of Severino, if you're in a complete rebuild, you aren't going to pay $14-13 million, whatever Severino got for a guy coming off a 6.50 ERA or something like that. So um, it's to me, it was still it wasn't necessarily that much of a difference how I felt about the Mets. You did because you said before the JD Martinez deal that the Mets weren't a playoff team, and all of a sudden in your prediction you said the Mets were a playoff team, and I still said probably not. If it and it happens, it could be the Mets have some upside. We still could be a playoff team. I'm not giving up on the season on May 17th with a half game deficit in the wild card. Um, but it's not that it was. The future is bright. That's what I have said in numerous podcasts right now. The future is bright, and this is let's hope for the best type of season.
Yeah. I looked at the JD Martinez thing, obviously, as a little bit of a separator between maybe that pack in the National League. Because obviously we knew the Mets weren't going to be competing for the division itself. That was going to be the Braves and the Phillies
Hmm.
battle. But when it came to the rest of the National League, the field, the Reds, the Padres, what other teams are available? The Diamondbacks. I think the Diamondbacks, even with the Mets signing J. Martinez, probably are overall a better team. I know Merrill Kelly's out for them, which is a big blow for their rotation. But the Giants, I thought that put the Mets past the Giants. The Cardinals, that we thought the Cardinals were at least going to be better this year. It turns out they're not going to maybe be the team the rebound team we thought they were going to be. Um, but would like that kind of pack, I thought JD Martinez would that was something to put the Mets over the edge. That's why I changed maybe my expectations a little bit. And I think that's fair. I mean, you look at some of
Sure.
some the rosters that these teams are throwing out there. You think with the Mets lineup wise, at least that the core four we could call it maybe of Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, JD Martinez. You think that core four, you stack it up against some of those other teams' core four, you think it could be better. I think it's better than like the Giants per se. You know, but um, maybe that was my own fault. Maybe perhaps setting the bar maybe a little bit too high. From or having a little bit of a 180 going from like, okay, this team is probably a
Maybe, yeah.
78, 79 win team to now they can be the 84, 85, get that last wild card spot and um, be the Diamondbacks of last year. So maybe that's more my fault than the organization's fault. But at least it gives us a good topic to talk about, and we had a good discussion about it.
Yeah, and not necessarily agreeing as we mostly do.
No,
Um,
which makes it better,
but
better entertainment.
it's not necessarily that I think you're made a mistake there. I think the Mets are definitely, and again, I will say it again because people say that the season is done and all that kind of stuff. We know Mets fans tend to overreact a little bit. So
No,
happening again, Panic City. We are still a half game out, and like you said, we have a core four that, besides Brandon Nimmo, the rest, the other three, just haven't performed up to their standards so far. So it could definitely get hot all at the same time, and then you have a potent lineup. So it's not like this ball club is out of it or anything like that. Try to look a little bit more at the glass, half full as half empty. I would say so. It's not necessary. Yeah, just put a uh, to put it in perspective for you. It's not that you were dead wrong um, with your prediction. That's not what I wanted to say. It was just like you mentioned, the 180 was maybe a little bit too much for. I think I was more optimistic before JD Martinez than you were, and then all of a sudden, because of JD Martinez, you were more optimistic than me.
that's true.
It's,
That's probably
yeah,
very true. Well,
yeah,
like you said, the Mets, they're a half game out. That pack is um, pretty for the last wild card spot. And it's weird to be like wild card watching now, whatever. It's May 17th, but um, we saw last year where the Mets were 500 ish, at the end of April, whatever. Then everything just kind of started to fall apart a bit, and then all of a sudden, just like that, you're way at the bottom of the wild card race, and it's pretty much signified that okay, this is probably not going to go the way that we want it to go. But that being said, if the Mets are going to try to turn things around, this is definitely the time to do it. You figure you got 3 games with the Marlins this weekend. They have to go to Cleveland. Cleveland's going to be tough. I believe they're at the top of the AL Central right now. Maybe the one good team in that division. Uh, but then after that, you got the Giants, who you're kind of in that similar spot with. Then you got 3 with the Dodgers, but then you got 4 with the Diamondbacks, another team that you're kind of in that spot with. So if you want to start to get some separation from those teams and start to establish a little bit something here, I think this is the time to start to do it because you're playing teams that are in a similar spot as you, record wise and position wise in that wild card race.
Yeah, 100%. Also, we knew that the Braves and the Phillies were a tough opponent. I mean, you hoped for a split in the two series, but I think it's not unexpected that you lose both of these series against these two teams. So, especially after Monday, I think. By the way, what a terrible call by the umpire on Monday. We didn't even notice that, but that with Merrifield, it could have changed that whole game, and
True.
you could have maybe won that game, and then less people would talk about Edwin Diaz, although he's clearly been struggling. Give the guy a break after a year off. Maybe his mechanics are a little bit off. His control is a little bit off. Um, so I think that's a little bit of an unrealistic expectation to say that he would be the same guy as the 2022 Edwin Diaz. I think he will be fine. Just putting it out there. Um, so now I don't remember what I wanted to say.
Well, we can
That's
continue this Diaz discussion, but first of all, I should apologize to the AL Central, saying Cleveland's the one good team in that division. The last two wild card spots are being occupied by AL Central teams with good records too, the Royals and the Twins. So I should send my apologies to the AL Central, as it's usually been the redheaded stepchild of divisions in
yeah,
Major League Baseball. So my
yeah.
apologies
But
there. But
we watched the Royals, and I think we're not necessarily worse than the Royals,
hmm, it's true.
right?
The
So
Kansas City, yeah. I mean, Kansas City, like, I guess that's the thing too. You look at teams like Kansas City, even Washington. They struggled those couple of years, but you can see the good young talent they have coming, or that's already there. Like I know C.J. Abrams has taken a big leap for Washington this year. We obviously know how great Bobby Witt Jr. is. And to be fair, Kansas City did spend a little dough in the offseason to bring in pitching and whatnot, but um, hopefully that's something the Mets can emulate when getting, developing their good young position players into, good solid at major leaguers or maybe even star level. So hopefully that's coming. Like you talked about, the future is bright for the Mets. Hopefully that is correct, and um, those guys develop that way. But I think we should talk about the Diaz here since you brought it up. So now he blew the two saves in this series with Philadelphia. He had the one against Tampa Bay, so that's three in the month of May. Um, you talk about maybe mechanics or being off, whatever. And I know Diaz has always been a bit of a quick worker. When he gets the ball, he likes to throw whatever. But does it seem like to you, at least me watching him last night, does it seem like he's maybe rushing things too much? Like, he gets the ball, he sets it, and it's just like that. There's no real hold, especially with base runners on. We saw him pay no attention to Bryson Stott after Stott tied the game, and Stott took off for second, and Stott was stealing third on the line out to end the ninth inning. So, I mean, that also contributes to the Mets' continued issues about base runners. The pitchers are just paying absolutely no attention to him. But does it seem like Diaz is he rushing stuff? At least to me, it kind of looks that way. But maybe, I don't have the trained eye of a Jeremy Hefner or Mendoza, or the guys who are actually paid to work with these guys. But to me, it just looks like he's rushing stuff a lot. Would you agree with that? Would you disagree? What's your opinion on that?
I can see your view in that. I haven't even necessarily noticed it, but now you said it, um, yeah, it could definitely be true that part of him, having a tough time, um, that that the game speed up. That's how they always say it. Maybe for Diaz, it's part of the issue that the game is speeding up. His control is definitely way off. We saw some pitches. I think a fastball that he missed on the arm side, way up and away for the. I think it was a wild pitch eventually. Um, it's off, but I think it's probably fixable. It's tough if you can keep your arm strength up. You can maybe throw some bullpen sessions, but getting on a major league mound, it's probably tough, and maybe he develops some nicks in his mechanics that he has to work out. But we have Jeremy Hefner there. That probably keeps his eye on Edwin Diaz very closely. So if there are some mechanical issues or him speeding up, I think they will figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm not like super worried like everyone else is about Edwin Diaz. It's just been a really rough month for him. Uh, we could also throw in I believe. Well, I guess technically this is back in April, but that Cubs series, the home run to Morel in the ninth inning, that was a tie game, but still, he ends up with a loss. Um, so just a real rough stretch of late for Edwin Diaz, and if he is rushing, then that maybe messes up his mechanics, and that's potentially something there. Like I said, we're not trained. We're not Jeremy Hefner. We're not Danny Barnes, whoever you want to mention that works with these guys. But at least from my naked eye, just watching last night, it seemed like very rushed. I don't know if maybe because this is his first time pitching with the pitch clock. I don't know if he's still adjusting to that. That's something to maybe consider as well. But like we said, he's traditionally a fast worker, but maybe he's speeding himself up at times, and that maybe is potentially leading to some issues. I don't know, but something to definitely keep an eye on as we watch the Mets. Hopefully, take care of the Marlins this weekend. But before we get to um, the Marlins. I know we've been talking a lot about the major leagues, but there's been some news in the minor leagues as well, particularly in Binghamton. Some guys got promoted, have made their Double-A debuts, and have looked solid there in Binghamton. But we'll turn this over to the Corne minor league minute as he will update us on what's going on throughout the Mets minor league system. So without further ado, as he gets his iPad or phone ready to share his lovely, well constructed notes, we will turn this over to him.
Yeah, welcome to Corne's minor league minute. Hopefully a minute, probably not. Probably a
Probably
little
not.
bit longer than a minute.
We're only at
But I'm
42
gonna.
minutes right now, so we got some time.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's get through it. AG Ewing, Florida Complex League first. AG Ewing has his first pro home run. 2023 fourth rounder, 90-year-old. Played center field. Was drafted as a second baseman, but now playing center field for the Florida Complex League. So that's always interesting. And 931 OPS in the early going. Jorge de Leon, 3 perfect with 5 strikeouts. He missed 2 years due to injury. Has now a 1.84 ERA over 44 minor league innings. Another promotion, Christopher Gomez, who pitched 2 scoreless innings and earned himself a promotion to St. Lucie. 61 strikeouts in 45 and 2/3 innings with a 0.59 ERA. More known Simon Wang is still doing his thing, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a second home run on Wednesday. His OPS is up to 1046. And Wellington Aracena, he was nasty. He struck out 5 over 3 scoreless innings. And I saw a tweet that he was sitting between 97 and 99 on the gun. So that's another nice Dominican arm to keep an eye on. Moving on to St. Lucie, Kate Morris, who had 2 bad starts, followed it up with 7 scoreless innings, allowing 5 hits, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. So good to see him bounce back. And aforementioned Jesus Baez, it is 5th home run of the year, extending his hitting streak to 16 games. Brooklyn, Nick Morabito, who was just promoted from St. Lucie to Brooklyn, is also playing well there. OPS with Brooklyn is now up to 908, and it was 1043 at St. Lucie, so he is having a good year. Jonathan probably his first bad outing of the year, allowing 3 runs, 2 earned in 3 and 2/3 innings. And Nolan McLean seems like we talk about him every episode, but he had another tremendous outing, 4 innings, allowing just 1 unearned run with 9 strikeouts. It was a tough loss for Nolan McLean, and we mentioned a tough loss for Nolan McLean. Also a tough loss for Blake Tidwell in Binghamton. He had a bounce back outing after his bad outing last outing, 6 innings of 1 run ball. But just like Nolan McLean, he had a loss. Binghamton got more good pitching with the debut of Brandon Sprout. his debut went great. 5 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So he's doing his thing in Binghamton right now. Dave Peterson had a rehab outing. Like we have mentioned before, that Peterson and McGill are both pitching very well in the minor leagues. He did it again, 5 and 2/3 inning, allowing 5 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, 14 scoreless innings, allowing just 7 hits with 1 walk, and 24 strikeouts for David Peterson in a minor league rehab stint so far. So he seems to be closer and closer to getting ready. And Joander Suarez did it again. 3 and 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and no walks with 5 strikeouts. ERA is down to 2.17 with an 0.86 whip. Then Syracuse, Mike Brousseau, who the Mets signed on a minor league deal, had a 3 home run day on Tuesday. The day that the Syracuse Mets rocked our old friend Julio Teheran that day for 6 runs over 3 and 2/3 innings. Julio Teheran noticeably good in his only outing for the Mets. Kidding, yeah, wasn't that good. Uh, Mike Vessel had his second all-right outing, still not great, but 3 runs on 2 home runs over 5 innings. But still, after his early season struggles, we see some somewhat better outings for Mike Vessel. And other news, the Mets are expected to sign shortstop Elian Pena, and likely getting a $5 million bonus, was the number 1 international prospect. So good to see that the Mets are, getting high upside there. I saw a clip of his swing and it looked quick and powerful. So very excited to follow that 16-year-old shortstop and hopefully get into the Mets organization and follow his development through the minor leagues. That was the minor league, like 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, it was about maybe more 5 minutes, but that's still good. That's still fine for
Yeah,
knowing how we go. That can be like a 20-minute segment, you know.
I think it works to just go through it.
Just snappy, snappy, just go, go, go.
Snap, snap, go, go. This is the information we have. That's how we do it, and then talk after. So
Yeah.
if you have things to mention about a couple of guys, go for it.
Well, Brandon Sprout, however people pronounce his name, um, maybe we should learn because it seems like on this trajectory he's going to be in the big leagues, maybe next year. Who knows? But obviously they carried that over to Double A after pitching in Brooklyn, and that's kind of the jump they say is the more eye-opening one for minor leaguers is going from the high A to Double A, and to see him go out and throw those 5 innings, it's good. It's a good sign. I mean, obviously he's going to have that outing, sooner rather than later, where maybe it's his welcome to the Eastern League moment. But to have him make that debut for Binghamton, throw some solid, throw some solid innings, that's very good to see. And like we said, it makes these minor league games more um, entertaining to watch. When you have this plethora of prospects in the organization, and like we said, if you have the MLB.TV, you can watch these minor league games. Like this is not a paid promotion. I wish it was a paid promotion, but that's part of the deal. You can watch these minor league games. I know we take advantage of it um, when the Mets aren't playing, or there's an afternoon game. The Mets are a later game. We take advantage of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, definitely got to watch these guys, especially as they continue to develop throughout the system. Like you said with Pena, uh, Pena, right? That was the name. Yeah, I thought it was, and then I doubted myself for 1 second, and then I mean, obviously, 16 years old. It's not like he's going to be in St. Lucie. He's gonna go to
No,
the Dominican camp, go to the Florida Complex League. He's gonna work his way up. Could he be Ronald Acuna Jr., Vladdy Jr., 20 years old coming up? Maybe. Who knows? But we can see these guys develop in front of us, and it's exciting to see, especially with like I said, the plethora of prospects that are within this system.
definitely. I think it's worth just noting. I've mentioned it a couple of times before that every time you look at, I'm more a pitching guy, so I'm more interested in watching good arms, you can look every day and see an interesting arm as a probable pitcher you can watch. And if you have the time, obviously, if you find it interesting, if you are sick with the Mets Major League Ball Club, hey, try a minor league game. Watch Brandon Sprout. Watch Kate Morris. Watch Jonathan. Watch all those guys. There's so many great young arms in the system you can watch.
Yeah, and you gotta give kudos to SNY. They've picked up some minor league games for from all the leagues. AAA through St. Lucie. They'll be on SNY. Some have already been on. Um, so you gotta give credit to them for really trying to maybe give the fans another um, look at what could be coming to Queens very very soon. So let's talk about those guys from Queens as they are in South Beach for the weekend to take on the Miami Marlins. It starts tonight with Christian Scott pitching again in Florida. So he's made three. He's going to make three starts now, two of which are in his home state. He's going up against Jesus Luzardo for the Marlins. Tonight is a 7:10 first pitch. Tomorrow's a 4:10 first pitch. It's Luis Severino going up against Braxton Garrett. So two lefties to start this series for the Miami Marlins. And then Sunday afternoon, the finale, it's Sean Manaea against Sixto Sanchez. So remember Sixto Sanchez when he was traded for JT Realmuto and was the big prospect in that and had his flashes in the COVID year and hasn't made his return to the mound until this year, I believe. So um, he's getting the start for the Marlins on Sunday. So should be fun to watch and hopefully the Mets give us some good vibes. If they sweep the series, they're back to 500. I mean, I'm not going that far. I don't make predictions like that. I don't bet. I don't do anything because I always lose. I don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose my pride, especially to you. So, what do you what are you expecting from this weekend series of the Marlins? I should say, start off with you predicted a split with the Phillies, and you were wrong about that. So when you're wrong, I do have to mention that, even though it's at the Mets' expense.
Yeah, true. Um, but after a couple of uh, good ones I had, um, I can be wrong for once, Andrew. Don't be a peak about it.
That's what
But
I do.
um, I, I just have to go for a sweep. The Marlins just aren't playing well. Honestly, if I hear the pitchers, they are running out. I know Luzardo is having a bad start, but Sixto Sanchez really interesting Sunday. Um, but I probably think that we have our best three up right now too with Scott, Severino, and Manaea. So um, let's just go for it. Sweep. The Mets are going to be back at 500 and in a wild card spot on Monday.
Wow. This is like my 180 for the Mets when they signed Jay Martinez, a 180 here, maybe for the fan base if the Mets can sweep the Marlins and get themselves looking sitting pretty in that last wild card spot.
We know how most baseball fans, let me put it that way, not just Mets fans, are having a pretty short memory. So if we sweep, then Mets land will be a lot different than right now.
Yeah, well, I know Luzardo's given them some trouble over the years, so that'll be a tough one. Jesus Luzardo, a former Vermont Lake Monster, Jesus Luzardo. Just have to put that out there. It's the Vermont Lake Monster season is starting up, which means I get paid to watch baseball. So even though they're not
That's
affiliated with minor league baseball anymore, they're Wooden College Summer League, but still, paychecks don't bounce. That's all that matters.
hey, that's a nice job.
Damn
Paid to
right.
to watch baseball. I mean, it's something I would do, but yeah, there's not a lot of interesting things out here in the Netherlands to watch baseball.
I got a good setup up there in the press box. I got my. It's exactly the way I set it up with you with the recording. Yes, I got the Mets on my little phone stand here, so I got them on my phone while I'm working the Lake Monster game. It's perfect, perfect setup. I don't miss anything, and they get paid for
Yeah,
it.
well,
So I get paid to
yeah,
watch
yeah.
I get paid to watch two baseball games: the Lake Monsters and the Mets. Let's think of it that way. Maybe I should get paid double.
Uh, you're so lucky guy. You're such a lucky guy.
Well, you know.
in some regards at least.
In some regards, some things I'm lucky about. Some things, not so much. But we won't go there. I think that's a great place to wrap up this episode before we start to ridicule me. So, all right, sir. Thanks for joining us as always. Hopefully, you enjoy this weekend series with the Marlins, as we all do. Hopefully, you've got a lot of things to talk about on Monday, and hopefully, they're positive.
Like I said, Monday we're gonna have a nice, happy episode, and if not, then it will probably a pretty depressed one. So let's go for the for the first option, please.
Gotta give us some good vibes, Mets. Hopefully they do that in South Beach. All right, everyone. This has been the Queens Connection, a production of Patent Sports Creative. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Just search Queens Connection. We'll pop up there. Also check out the YouTube page, the parent YouTube page. That's where all the episodes, clips go. We also post clips on Facebook. So make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Spotify, wherever you want to watch us, enjoy us. If you do enjoy us, make sure you're following along and liking our stuff because we do our best. Anyway, try. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for listening and enjoy the weekend series against the Miami Marlins.